What's going on, guys? This is Drake Shot Plays coming at you with another awesome video. We are 21 days out from our Pokemon Wand Company Heal Ball giveaway. Make sure you enter that giveaway in the link in the description below. Definitely be checking me out. Check out the Patreon for ways to become mods, ways to enjoy the channel better with members first videos only. Once we get some Patreons going in there, we will start doing member-only content. And then also, definitely, if you want to see more giveaways like that, Patreon or the Linktree is a great way to sponsor the video or just sponsor. If you like seeing that I do giveaways and you want to help out, make sure other people enjoy in on the fun, definitely check that out. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you this. Okay, so we got 15 users signed up. I want you guys to come sign up because this ends in 21 days, okay? So let's get into the video. There was a bunch of Pokemon Legends ZA news, and while there's some biased creators that Papa Pikachu keeps flying out, if you know, you know, which I love to be that. Sure, of course I want to be a paid creator by them, but at the same token, I want to show Skillups video because his hands-on Switch 2 impressions comes from a non-Pokemon gamer. He liked Pokemon and then he just grew out of it, kind of, and I like to show that because he gives you the most criticism for what the game is or could be. So let's get into the video. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome if you're new. Alright, here we go, guys.
Money can buy the D brand kill switch. I would never dream of using my Switch 2 in handheld.
I'll skip past this too, guys.
YouTube channel.
Alright, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're doing this, so buckle up. Obviously, Pokemon is a franchise that I have mixed feelings about. I hadn't played a Pokemon game in many years when I booted up Sword and Shield a few years ago, and I was pretty bowled over by how little progress this series had made in terms of visuals and performance and core gameplay and voice acting, and the list went on. For me, it just felt like this was a series that was completely at odds with the high quality bar that Nintendo demanded, and I was quite shocked at how stagnant it felt. Pokemon Legends Arceus was a real shot in the arm for the franchise, adopting a more open world structure and encouraging more interactions with Pokemon in the field in terms of how you distract or capture them. Still, the open world was woefully barren and it looked terrible, just awful. But even with those big caveats, people really warmed to Arceus because they were just happy to see Game Freak doing something, doing anything to change up the formula. It's been Pokemon crystal clear for a long time now that this franchise has way more potential than Game Freak were realizing, and every new release has seen fans asking the ultimate question: is this going to be the moment that Pokemon truly evolves, pun intended? So after playing about an hour and a half of Pokemon Legends ZA, I'm going to say right off the top that I don't think this is that moment. Much like Arceus, I think there are some really positive things here, things that I actually quite enjoyed, and that really worked for me as someone who felt like Pokemon's version of turn-based combat had grown really stale. But many of my previous complaints about the franchise remain. This doesn't look great, there's no voice acting, the open world feels rather empty, and I do think that setting the entire thing in a city is going to limit the opportunity for biome diversity, and it's a very whiplash-inducing decision after the expansion.
Okay, so let's pause it there. Now, in this demo, they didn't give people access to the catacombs underneath. So there will be biomes supposedly in the catacombs or sewers. So keep that in mind. We have seen that. We've heard from various official sources and even seen it in Nintendo trailers that the catacombs will be like your other diversity compared to Legends ZA, who had a bunch of diversity. You had volcanoes, islands, water, you had alabaster icelands, and then you had the plains where you first started, right? So I do understand that complaint because you are in a city. It's not like you're going to have 20 biomes, you know what I mean? You're really only going to have one, and it's not like Lumio City is next to a volcano. As far as lore-wise goes, no, this is a different time period, so maybe earthquake happened and created a volcano. You don't know. But it'd take two different land masses coming together to create such a thing. So it's kind of hard to see any more diversity. And I also agree that it being based in a city when these guys aren't really known for making good cities can be a little lackluster. And meanwhile, while I'm a simp for Pokemon, which I'm sure a lot of you are simp for Pokemon, as it was our childhood and, we grew up, we might have jumped back into this series after Black and White. A lot of us did that. But what I want to say is that, at least this game, they're trying a new combat system. I do like that. I liked it in Legends Arceus as well. But turn-based combat will always be supreme because a lot of Pokemon players go to that for a lot of reasons. One, because it's easier for us to play the game and be more strategic in playing the game. And also just helps. Like if my toddler falls down, I can leave the controller and not worry about dying in Monster Hunter, right? Perfect example. You're going to get bodied in Monster Hunter because you have to stop what you're doing and go take care of your kiddo, because that always comes first. So I see turn-based combat always staying because a lot of the Pokemon, I want to say 90% of Pokemon fans or players prefer turn-based combat. But what I do like is these Legends spin-off games where they try a new combat system just to see how we react. Now, Skillup is a perfect example of someone who liked Pokemon and then just kind of grew out of it, and he can see the series for what it is because he's not a simp to it like a lot of us, like this guy right here with the shiny Fuecoco. Okay, I know I'm biased, okay, don't worry. I'm also very biased when it comes to Monster Hunter, and Monster Hunter bringing Gogmagios back is awesome. So that'll be a different video for a different time. But what I'm saying is this is the perfect review for someone if you're skeptical about the game. If you have concerns, this guy is a great listen. I will have a link to his video down below. Definitely check him out. He's a huge creator, so it's not like he's going to get crazy viewership from me. But I always like posting links in videos. I always ask creators if I can use their stuff, but these creators, when they get to a certain level, it just feels like you're wasting your time because, fair use policy and all that, but also they ignore your message. Like, hey, you don't mind if I use your video, right? They 90% of the time ignore your message. Probably because they think you're somebody just trolling them online. But let's keep listening to this. I think it's very important to listen to.
Okay, so let's do some of the complaining first. Visuals. Look, what can I say that you can't see with your own two eyes? This is Switch 2 gameplay that you see in here. It's a game that's also shipping on the Switch 1, so it's naturally going to be held back by that. But even then, there are many Switch 1 games that look significantly better than this. We've talked for so many years.
Let me pause that for a second. So my community, I've heard from a lot of you, you're really concerned about optimization on Switch 1. And he's right that the Switch 1 would be holding it back normally. But this is Game Freak. They're not the best at being developers anyways. I'll say you've seen all the glitches in Scarlet and Violet. Okay, it's old talk, right? But he has a point. That it's not visually impressive, but it's also Pokemon. So you have to be into Pokemon to really not care about the environment, right? Because it's just there. But I do respect criticism of it because that's the only way these games are going to get better visually and keep improving is if they hear criticism and they work on that. So I definitely like when creators don't just simp out for Pokemon. Let's be honest, the city looks the same. All the buildings look the same. Look at these windows right here. They all look the same, okay? as a sim for Pokemon and a Pokemon fan, I'll still be playing it. I'm sure a lot of you will, as you're fans of Pokemon. But I will say, if you're skeptical, it doesn't hurt to just wait for a couple months. I mean, Pokemon Home ain't out until 2026. Ghost of Yote is October 2nd. I will be covering that video game as well. But I just want to say that there's plenty other games out there. And if you're on the fence or you're worried about optimization, there's no point in rushing to buy this game. Especially when they have the DLC coming too. Like, you could wait and play it then when Pokemon Home's out and you can trade your shiny Pokemon in. But I will be covering it on OLED for you guys, as most of my community is concerned about optimization, and I'm using an older console to show footage. So hopefully it's good and it doesn't run like dog doo-doo. Alright, let's continue on the video.
It's about Pokemon's visuals, and no matter how much we complain, it doesn't change anything. These games will still go on to sell a bajillion copies, no matter what we say. At the same time, this is the first Pokemon game on the Switch too, and while it does look clean and crisp, and it runs really well, no doubt about that, it also looks decidedly last gen, and honestly, that's being a little generous. I don't think it's at all unreasonable to have expected some more visual uplift here at the start.
Right, the boxes, the cars, they all look really pathetic.
That, I'm not so sure about the decision to set this game entirely in one city. In my hour-and-a-half preview, I was able to cruise around, a modest amount of the city, and it all looked the same. There were some parks and landmarks, etc.
Yep.
I don't know. Pokemon games have often been journeys through different locations, moving from town to town with different explorable spaces between them, offering up different biomes. I can't offer a definitive take on this since I need to experience the full city to get a sense of just how diverse it is. Having rolled through a portion of it during this preview, I was already feeling like I would have liked to have seen some new locations. For me though, one of the biggest issues is still the continued absence of voice acting. I know that many Pokemon fans don't actually care about environment details because they're all about the Pokemon designs, and fair enough, but voice acting is the sort of thing that can really pull people into a world and a story, and Pokemon continues to not have that. It's still very awkwardly animated cutscenes with text boxes under them, all of the personalities of the characters and all of the drama of the moment hamstrung by silence. So look, all of these things you would have been able to see for yourself if you've seen any of the trailers or gameplay showcases. I've heard some people say that the visuals do, in fact, represent a nice step up into this new hardware generation. And I could agree with those people, but then we'd both be wrong. It is what it is, as much as we might wish it.
Right. And what I'll say to that is, this game looks better than Scarlet and Violet. But let's not pretend like that's a huge bar to pass. Just like with Bethesda Game Studios and Starfield. When Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, remember that Elder Scrolls has built-in lore and world building's already been done for that game. So they're going to be able to really make that game pop, unlike Starfield, which was a new IP with a whole new universe for them to build. So I'm surprised Starfield came out as good as it did, even though it's still bad. It's loading field, right? But let's be honest, there were some pretty good storylines, like the UC Vanguard, right? So what I will say is that Elder Scrolls 6 will be better, but that's the way any game developer should be doing, is getting better, right? Whether it's Game Freak, anyone, because technology gets better and it makes game development more, I wouldn't say easy, because easy is not a respectful way of saying it. It gives the developer more freedom to be creative and make things they actually like. So the technology getting better and better is always a good thing. And on Nintendo Switch 2, this game should look good. You're paying $450 for a console, then paying another $100 for the full game if you add in the DLC. Now, while I'm a simp for Pokemon, I will say I hate when game companies, because Pokemon isn't the first one to do this, Nintendo's not the first one to do this, when they announce DLC before the game's even out, that is so pathetic. So just wanted to say that too.
To be different, and maybe it will be different one day, but not today. So the other big problem I had with modern day Pokemon games is that it felt like the turn-based gameplay model had become incredibly stale, and I say that as someone who actually enjoys turn-based combat. Just that Pokemon's wasn't doing anything that it hadn't done like 25 years earlier, and I really needed something fresh. And here's where we get to the good stuff. Pokemon Legends Z8 delivers the biggest shake-up to the combat framework that the series has ever seen, and while I have no idea how Pokemon purists will feel about it, I actually quite enjoyed it.
See, now this is edit this part of the video, please.
Whether you decide to stay in or go.
Alright, so he said he actually enjoyed it, the combat, so that's very good to hear from someone that's not a Pokemon fan. That's why I want to showcase this
It's still simple, but it's
compared to other people's review
and actiony, while still retaining most of the underlying elements
or
in which the
impressions.
traditional turn-based combat framework was built. The main thing is that it's now fully real-time. Well, basically, when you're in certain areas of the city, wild Pokemon or trainers can be engaged by targeting them and using one of your Pokemon's abilities, which are mapped to the face buttons. When this happens, the Pokemon moves freely to perform the actions, so that short-range attacks means the Pokemon needs to get.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it right there. You see that they're still attacking the player, and you see the health border right here along the screen. That means that just like in Legends Arceus, don't you dare say Arceus, that you can black out if you keep getting attacked without dodging, without fighting them with your Pokemon. So that's very cool to see. I know some people didn't like that, but the thing is it's a different game than Pokemon. So people are going to feel different about it, you know, because it's not turn-based. So just keep an eye on that.
Close and personal, while long-range attacks let them maintain a distance. Now that's obvious, but there's a reason why I pointed out. Positioning matters in that AoE attacks or attacks with frontal cones or piercing attacks, they will damage multiple foes if you can position your Pokemon and the enemy correctly.
Oh,
It doesn't matter
so listen to that. So your move can affect more than one Pokemon if you position correctly. Okay, that's pretty cool. No other creator has talked about this. That's why I wanted to highlight this one. I've watched them all. I think if you're a Pokemon simp like myself, you really got a kick out of watching Roger's Base or PhillyBeatsU. Shout out Philly. But here's the thing. While I can be a simp for Pokemon, we can also be honest, right? And just be like, hey, this guy at Skillup, he really isn't a gigantic Pokemon fan that's just going to buy every gay cup that the Pokemon company makes, right? So I like his opinion the best because he talks about it like, hey, it's a game, but the world's bland, right? So I just want you guys to know that. That way my community and even new viewers to the channel can see that, one, just because I'm a simp for something doesn't mean I can't see criticism. And two, I respect the criticism because that's how our developers get better. They hear the feedback. That's very important. And if more Pokemon fans did this, we could have a better Pokemon game in the near future. So remember that. All right, let's continue.
so much in the trainer battles since you're only ever fighting one Pokemon at a time. At least that's all I experienced in my preview. But in the wild zones where Pokemon wander freely, you can pull multiple wild Pokemon into a single battle. And if you can then herd them in a way that lets your attacks hit more than one foe, then great. I don't have any footage of that, sadly, since this is all B-roll provided by Nintendo, but trust me, it's a tactic I was regularly utilizing while playing.
That's pretty cool.
I like that. I
Didn't
also
know.
like the cooldown system associated with Pokemon abilities. They're all on timers,
Moves.
and so while you're repositioning your trainer...
Abilities aren't in the game.
You're waiting for your abilities to come off cooldown, and you're prioritizing different attack types to deal maximum damage. Playing Pokemon ZA kind of feels like playing a really simplified version of Xenoblade, and that is something that multiple other people commented on during the...
It's a very old game, by the way.
Games, this combat rhythm definitely appealed to me, but as I alluded to earlier, I don't know how much hardcore Pokemon fans are going to like this because it is very different. But there are plenty of similarities to the old turn-based system, and they're smartly integrated here. There is a back-end metronome that ticks away, making sure you can't execute attacks simultaneously or quickly summon in a new Pokemon while an enemy is completing their attacks. It also applies to using items since you can't spam...
Okay, so that's what I was curious about. So right here, he's talking about how moves have a metronome, so you can't just spam all of them at once. That's really cool. Hopefully it's implemented well. It sounds like it is from what he's saying. as long as it's implemented well, we could see some really good things from this game. If you're a Pokemon fan, of course, because why else would you spend $80 on this thing, right? And he's also talking about items here.
And 3 revival potions within a single opening of your menu. Again, similar to something like Xenoblade, there's a turn-based quality baked into the real-time action, and it does force you to consider your timing when making tactical decisions.
And you can't use more than one item at once. So that's pretty cool information as well, from what I've heard.
For me, the best part of this combat was how easy it was to switch between Pokemon on the fly so that I could respond to things like low health or counters or needing a certain attack type or suddenly needing some AoE. You could always do that in other Pokemon games, but here it's just a quick, seamless button press that occurs almost immediately. It's nice to be able to apply a cheeky status effect with one Pokemon before switching to another with the press of a button. I was switching most often after I dumped big, high cooldown abilities so I could maintain
Cheeky status effect, let's go.
Again, you could always do stuff like this in the turn-based model, absolutely, but it just feels more seamless here. Pokemon combat has always been about synergizing the abilities of your Pokemon to exploit or defend against weaknesses, and this more immediate real-time hot swapping made it easier than ever to connect with that central design element.
Ooh, Totodile got murked.
Outside of that, the structure of the world is a little odd. It's a city where by day there are zones where Pokemon roam freely, and at night there are these ZA Royale zones where trainers are just kind of standing around doing nothing. And you pick up these little challenge tickets that'll say something like, perform a sneak attack to initiate a battle, and you have to stay out of line of sight.
This guy also made me laugh the most too, because
another challenge which was to KO a Pokemon.
Stand around doing nothing.
Doing these gives you points towards a ticket to the Royale Showdown, which is kind of like a gym battle in that you're facing off against a higher level trainer, and defeating them lets you rank up from Z all the way to A.
Okay, awesome. And we see a rank from W to V, Pansear, all the monkeys. Evolution is that one.
Mega Evolution boss battle, which was
Mega Victory Bell, and I have caught some shiny Bellsprouts in Love Balls. I will be giving those away on the channel as well. We'll maybe do a wheel spin for it. You know, get all the subscribers in a wheel and just spin and just see. People that have requested it will be getting theirs as well. Takes time to catch these because I like catching them in special balls and stuff. So keep that in mind.
Get me on the Pokemon train, since I think that, like many of you, I am waiting for a more ambitious evolution of the franchise. I think the visuals are not good. I think it's too early to judge the setting, but I am curious about how diverse it is.
Okay, so you watch Philly, and we're gonna watch PhillyBeatsU after this, just to show you the difference between a non-Pokemon fan and a Pokemon fan. Okay.
Ends up being, and the continued absence of voice acting is just such a bummer. This is a world that could have a great little story campaign if Game Freak chose to go in that direction. Having said all of that, I won't lie. I enjoyed the new real-time combat system. It reminded me of other tactical real-time combat systems I've enjoyed, and I think it fits neatly into a Pokemon wrapper, and I felt like this was a great direction for the franchise. I'm not sure if real Pokemon fans will agree with me on that, but this aspect of ZA felt quite modern, while other parts of the package still felt decidedly dated. Brass tacks though, whatever I or anyone else says makes no difference at all, because this is still going to be the second highest selling game of the year after GTA 5 and Call of Duty. Pokemon is its own unstoppable juggernaut. It cannot be slowed down no matter how much we complain about it. But I was genuinely interested to check in on it at the start of a new generation, get a bit of a pulse check. Some parts of it I hated in the right direction, other parts still seem stuck in time. But that's Pokemon Legends.
Perfectly said. Definitely go to Skillups' video. I'll have the link to their videos in the description below. Shout out to Skillup for the awesome review and making me laugh. I hope he made you guys laugh too. Look, we can respect criticism, even if it's from someone that's not a crazy Pokemon fan. You know what I mean? All right, now let's get into this. Now, there's a bunch of Paris stuff in here. So, editors, skip this.
So that's another strategy that you might want to implement. And the game...
Okay, right here.
We're going to have little Veneries show up here. It is footage of Wild Zone 6 that takes place in the John District, which is very nice. It's like the Yellow District. And as you can see right away, we're going to have little Veneries.
And
as you can
Mega
tell,
Lopunny
charging at us and being aggressive. See, they have little question marks. And if they do notice you fully, they just start to run away. I also do want to point out there are also levels to this entire area, which we are literally walking past. Right over here, if you take a look at your screen, we'll probably zoom in for you guys.
Right.
You see that there is a binnacle just chilling there. So on this level below, once you just hop off, there's like a little ladder to climb up. There are binnacles and there are Magikarp that you can interact with. This wild zone is bigger than it appears by just looking at it, as there are layers to this. Anyway, so we passed the Banneries, we crossed the
So
bridge,
under the
and
bridge
then
is like
landed in
binnacles
an
and
area, which is the main street
stuff.
of Wild Zone 6, which you have seen in previous trailers, that had the Houndours and it had the Alpha Houndoom here.
Houndoom.
In this interaction, though, we get to see something really cool, right? The Houndours are a lot more aggressive Pokemon, so they spot you and they start to attack you, and they go for your trainer while your Pokemon's trying to fight them. They're coming after you,
Yep,
so you have to
yep.
be really careful and avoid those attacks. You can see that around the screen, it's starting to become a lot more red and damaged, which means you don't want to black out. There's another Houndour also attacking us. The good thing about this game is that there are multiple Pokemon interactions, so you'll be battling more than one Pokemon at one time. It's never just 1v1. I want to go back a little bit so you see this. There is actually a specific time frame where you can catch a Pokemon. So you can see that the crunch was just done on the Houndour. The Houndour is now at 0 HP. It's pretty much done. And you'll see this little star effect around its head. You have a specific amount of time once that happens to catch it. And after that time is done, GG's. The stars go away and the Pokemon despawns.
See, the Pokemon will despawn, so remember that.
If that happens to be a shiny Pokemon, are there safeguards around it? You don't want to run into a situation where there are a ton of Pokemon and you see a shiny. You probably want to take out the other Pokemon first, so they do not interfere with you trying to catch that shiny Pokemon.
Right.
So immediately as that Pokemon is knocked out, you would throw the Pokeballs at it, or you can actually throw...
See, let's pause it right there. So that's where it's different from Pokemon Legends ZA. Okay, you can have more than one Pokemon in a battle in Legends ZA, but it's turn-based. They're not attacking your trainer during the combat. So that is going to be interesting to see how people react when playing this game, is because it's so interesting because you're going to be managing so many things. I think a lot of Elden Ring people that like the challenge will be happy about that. I think a lot of Pokemon people that just like to play and pause, I think they won't like that, because there's a lot of stuff to manage all at once, right? But we'll see how it feels in our hands. I will be going over this video in more detail. Thank you so much for being here, guys.
Throw Pokeballs even before it's even knocked out where the stars are above its head. So that's another strategy that you might want to implement. And the game doesn't really show that you could throw Pokeballs until you've knocked out the Pokemon, but you could actually throw them. In fact, I was actually throwing back strikes at the Pokemon and having success without even battling some of these Pokemon. So
Okay, so back strikes at the Pokemon are in the game. And he said you can just lob Pokeballs, kind of like in Legends Arceus. Maybe not as crazy, where you could just like lob them from down the field, but I always love the sound when you're just far enough away where you hit him in the head, but it's like a thunk sound. I always laughed at that, man. That was the best in Legends Arceus.
So that is a thing to keep in mind, and it kind of follows that Legends Arceus style. And you can see after our Watchog does take out this Houndour, that the trainer
You can catch it.
catches it, and you probably have a lot more higher percentage chance of catching a Pokemon once it's knocked out. And once you do that, you can see that it gets registered. That's a first-time registration. It says the number where it is in the dex and the name. You can also see the entire party right over here is gaining experience all together. Now, like I said, I wanted to point out that the area is a lot bigger than it seems, because it looks like Wild Zone 6 is pretty small just by looking at this. But
There's Pokemon on the rooftops as well. We've seen that.
Holovator, that's the exact name. That
Holovator.
To a roof level. Now, on this roof level, I was able to interact with Pokemon like Flappies. There was also Wobblers up there, and it looks like all our trailers almost were showing off a lot of Wild Zone 6. Below in the water area, there were pinnacles.
That's awesome to see. I'm going to stop watching his video here, but definitely check him out in the link description below. But I just want to show you the two difference of opinions. One that's a Pokemon fan, one that's not a Pokemon fan. So definitely check out these videos, and I just want to say shout out to everyone that watched this. Thank you so much, guys. Definitely join our Discord. Check out the Patreon if you want to support giveaways, because I love doing giveaways for you guys. I will be giving away Dust Ball. I think I have a few other metal balls I got to check. So definitely keep an eye on that. But thank you so much for watching. Check out the Gleam.io in the description below. 21 days till the giveaway ends. And as always, take care.